Buongiorno! Today we're going to talk about Commedia dell'arte. Commedia dell'arte emerged as a sort of street theatre, first of all in Rome. It was first identified in Rome in the mid-16th century, but it dates back in Italian theatre back to Roman times. It consisted originally of professional actors who would perform outdoors between serious drama. It's a form of comic theatre that uses improv based on a series of stock characters, and these characters wear standardized costumes and masks. Commedia dell'arte provides humorous entertainment by poking fun at the establishment. There are three groups of characters: the innamorati, who are the young lovers; the vecchi, the establishment old folks who oppose the plans of the young lovers; and the zanni, the crazy or zany servants who are enlisted to help the innamorati to thwart the vecchi. Commedia dell'arte is based on a typical plot, a standard plot, in which the young lovers want to get married, the vecchi oppose their plans, so the zanni are enlisted to thwart the vecchi. True love always prevails and all is forgiven. But the whole plot is highly improvised. The main theme of the innamorati succeeding in the end is a foregone conclusion, and the main subplots revolve around the antics of the zanni and the vecchi. There is lots of sexual innuendo. The plots are continually updated, sometimes even on a daily basis, to include contemporary local and political issues. And in fact, the main theme, the main love story, becomes secondary to the humor and the subplots. Let's take a look at the main stock characters. These can vary from production to production, but there is a general theme running through all of them, and some of these are quite familiar to us. There's, first of all, the zanni. Arlecchino, or as we would say in English, harlequin, is a servant, sometimes a servant to two masters, which can add to the humor of the situation. Arlecchino typically wears a colorful, tight-fitting outfit with familiar crisscross patterns. Then there's Colombina, Columbine. She's a maid. She also has a dual role because she's Piero's wife but Arlequin's mistress. She also wears colorful gowns, often crisscrossed. Then a couple of other comic characters as Pulcinella, who is a bombastic, sarcastic servant. He typically wears a baggy outfit and is pot-bellied and is a figure of fun. And there's Piero, the servant sad clown, who wears a familiar white costume with large buttons. And here are some pictures of the stock characters from different eras. On the left we see Colombina and Arlecchino in their familiar crisscross patterns. In the center is a historic portrayal of Piero, and on the right is the figure of fun Pulcinella. The vecchi, who represent the establishment older figures, also have a series of stock figures. Il dottore is the head of household. He is often the father of the female heroine, and he wears a black scholarly robe. Il capitano is a loner who wears a military uniform. Pantalone is an older wealthy man, wears typically a dark cape with red trousers. And Scaramucci is a sly, villainous foreigner who wears black Spanish attire. So these four characters and variations thereon represent the older establishment. And then we have the innamorati, the young upper-class lovers who are typically fashionably well-dressed in the current styles, and they're actually the least consequential members of the comedy. They are there just to provide the background for the humor. Here are some typical depictions of the Vecchi. On the left is Il Capitano, then we have Scaramucce, then Il Dottore, and finally Pantalone. And here are the young lovers, nondescript, good-looking, statuesque, just there to provide a framework for all the comedy that's going to go on. Commedia dell'arte quickly spread throughout Italy and throughout Western Europe, particularly France. One of the important facts about it is that it was the first form of theatre to provide professional acting roles for women. That's the first form since antiquity. It was opposed by the church on moral grounds because of the way that women were allowed to perform in these plays. The opposition was unsuccessful, and Commedia dell'arte flourished. It gradually devolved into local variants in different countries. In France, it was adopted in the court of Louis XIV and became known as Comédie Italienne. In England, it evolved into pantomime and Punch and Judy, and it flourished until it was banned by Napoleon in 1797 because of fear of subversion. Political plotters could disguise themselves as Commedia dell'arte, go about their political business without fear of detection, and for this reason it was banned by Napoleon, and this led to its demise until in fact it was revived during the 20th century. Here we see depictions of the regional variations and derivatives. On the left is a painting from the Louvre in Paris of the French version. Top right is a typical Punch and Judy show in England, and center bottom is an English pantomime. Oh, no, it isn't. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, no, it isn't. Oh, yes. Sorry, that'll be lost on anyone who wasn't brought up on English pantomime. Commedia dell'arte is important, amongst other things, because of the significant influence it had on serious art throughout Western Europe right up to the present day. It can be seen in the carnivals in Venice and Rio and in Mardi Gras. It had a significant impact on opera buffa. Molière used some of these ideas in his writings. Beaumarchais in France wrote the plays on which the operas of Mozart and Rossini used the character of Figaro. Then towards the end of the 19th, early 20th century, Leoncavallo, the Italian Verismo opera composer, wrote the well-known opera Pagliacci. Stravinsky, of course, based his Pulcinella suite on the stock character, and Picasso was highly influenced in many of his paintings. There are many other examples. The examples throughout Western culture are endless. On the top right there, we see Bryn Terfel and Cecilia Bartoli as Figaro and Susanna in Mozart's Marriage of Figaro. And bottom right, we see Pavarotti in Pagliacci. Here are some carnival images from around the world. Top left is Mardi Gras in New Orleans. Top right is Carnival in Venice. Bottom left is Carnival in Rio. And bottom right is the famous mask scene from Mozart's Don Giovanni. And as I mentioned, Picasso was highly influenced by Commedia dell'arte. Here are 6 of the many paintings of Arlecchino that Picasso produced throughout his career, and you can see that they encompass all of the different styles throughout his career. So that brings us to the end of our presentation, or to quote from Pagliacci, la commedia è finita.